Actually, I never liked hand knit socks, so this is something I can work with. Welcome, my name is Nana, and I realize people are actually watching this, but I will get used to, to that awkward feeling. Yeah, today it's all about socks because I've been obsessively knitting socks for the past weeks and months. Actually, I never liked hand knit socks because for me they were either too thick or they made me feel like walking on a net. But last year I had a single skein of yarn in my stash, 100% wool, no sock yarn, but fingering weight, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought I'd give it a try, and I downloaded a free pattern by Hobby. And I knit this pair of socks. It's in this off-white color, and I thought for the fun part I add some green stripes in whatever alpaca yarn. So this yarn, I can't remember what it was, something by BC Garn. Very woolly, and it has like 2x2 ribbing along the legs and then simple stockinette stitch, flap and gusset heels. And I wanted to create thin socks that I can wear in my slippers indoors because I've never lived in apartments with underfloor heating. So the sole of my slippers is much more important than the socks. Insulation wise, and that's why I never wear like thicker, like DK weight hand knit socks. But these, they fit in my slippers and they're super warm, so mission accomplished. And I've been wearing them a lot around the house and at night, especially when I went camping. Yes. So, but I was also surprised how long it took me to knit them, and so it didn't really kick off sock knitting obsession. But this year in January I visited my local yarn store together with a friend of mine, and she's very much into sock knitting. Yes, and my friend, she really likes to knit with self-striping yarn, and for me I was always a bit doubtful about it. But then I found a ball of yarn which I very much liked in the colors. And I thought, maybe I should give it a try. And I thought if I combine it with a solid colored toe, heel and cuffs, which contain the color, maybe that would look cool. And I bought this ball of Zauberball, Schoppel, I think it's a German brand. And the color mix is a lovely mix of pink, purple and green. And they really reminded me of the colors of a sunrise. And this color is also called Taupunkt, which is German for the point when dew forms in the morning. So that was nice. And for the heel and toe, I chose a beige yarn that I still had in my stash. This is by Juniper Moon Herriot Fine. It's an alpaca sock yarn. And I think this is the color 2002. And these are the socks. Sock number 1, sock number 2. Yeah, and I think they turned out really nice. I made up the, I developed the pattern myself, I would say, still based on this hobby pattern. But I forgot for my first pair of socks. Disappointingly, the yarn broke here, so I thought that the edge would be stretchy enough, but apparently it wasn't. And then I just repaired it with some leftover, so I didn't really creative mending for them. I just wanted them to be functional again. But I thought this shall never happen to me again. So I was thinking a lot what to do with the edge, and what I in the end did. You can see that it's kind of like something like a rolled edge before the ribbing starts. So I used a stretchy cast on, and additionally I cast on 10 more stitches, which I then decreased in the second or third row before I started with the ribbing. So this is now like mega stretchy, but I really like it. So you have 1x1 ribbing for the cuffs, and then plain stockinette stitch, flap and gusset heel. I must say it was a bit weird to give away control, because also the scale I had at this time wasn't so super precise, so I ended up with having this left, and I would have liked this pink or purple to be in the sock, but never mind. that's complaining on a high level. I still very much like them. And they're super, super soft, and I've been wearing them at night basically. So they're a bit too loose. I knit them and the white ones on 2.5 millimeter needles. But they are the perfect socks for the house and the bed. I'm actually always really looking forward a lot to going to bed so I can put them on again. Yeah, I really like them, and I think they're pretty with these beige details. Yeah, after I finished the socks for which are useful for in the house and during night, I really wanted to challenge myself to create socks that I can actually wear in shoes. And I wanted them to be also in 100% wool because, it's another goal of mine that everything I create is in the end biodegradable. Yeah, but I also get the point in terms of durability, but still I wanted to give it a try because there is sock yarn which is 100% wool, so that indicates that it might work. And I bought the Mondim sock yarn in this beautiful green. This is the color A573, and I knit this sock. Ta-da! So here I did the same technique with the edge and this tiny rolled edge, and then 1 by 1 ribbing. And this yarn, it gives such a crisp stitch definition. Do you see this? So this is super satisfying to knit with, row after row. It's really addictive, and at some point it almost made me feel nauseous and gave me a headache because I couldn't stop. They are now knit on 2 millimeter needles, so I wanted smaller stitches. And when I wore them, I was surprised how good they felt, and that, so the net-like feeling was lower, it wasn't there so much. And also I realized the fact that I knit them increased my tolerance toward this feeling. Yeah, but also then pretty quickly they felt it under the sole, which is super nice because it also counters this net-like feeling. And I wore them a lot over the past couple of weeks, and I thought, okay, this 100% wool sock yarn experiment works, until I was defeated by reality. And there was a hole here in the second one. There was a small hole, but I took them on 2 city trips where I really walked for hours and hours, and I was aware the entire time that my shoes were not good for them, because my shoes normally very quickly break on the inside where the heel is. And I didn't fix that before. So I was like, okay, this is a bit maybe too challenging. And but since they were also felted before, the hole stayed pretty small and didn't rip open all over the heel. So I thought, okay. And when I knit them, I thought, if they break, at least they're solid colored, which is something like a blank canvas for statement mending. So I really thought, here, if I use yarn in different colors for mending, that's nice, that's cool, I want to do that. And I did this for the first time, and I think it looks great, and I'm looking forward to the second hole, which is also a bit weird to say, but so I'm not overly disappointed. And for a proper experiment in terms of how much my shoes contributed to this whole situation, I'm knitting a second pair in the same yarn, just in a different color, that I can try them out with shoes that are a bit better in shape. And I really like this pink. Yeah. So this is a current work in progress. But socks and nylon and durability, also shop-bought socks, for me normally the natural fibers in them at the heels rub out very quickly, and then there's just this thin plastic net left. So it's also not the case that they look as if nothing has ever happened to them. To me, those are also broken socks. So but I guess the net still keeps the whole together, or that it doesn't break open too much. Yes, So, but when I finished them, I was hooked and I thought, okay, if I manage to really make myself hand knit socks that I can really wear on a daily basis, that would be great. And I still had some sock yarn in my stash that was gifted to me many years ago actually, and they do have nylon in them. That's the Herriot fine that I used for the heels of the other socks, and I have them in these two colors. It's the color 2002 and the red, which is kind of like a burnt brick red. That's the color 2020. And I also like these colors very much together. And I knit another pair of basic socks. So here the cuffs are a bit shorter and they have 2x2 ribbing. But otherwise, again, plain stockinette stitch with contrasting heels and toes. These I've been also wearing a lot already, and they also felt at the heels especially, which I like. But I must say I'm not the biggest fan of alpaca sock yarn when I compare them to the others, so I don't think they handle moisture as well as sheep wool, but I still really like them. I think they turned out great, and I'm very much into this like mid-century color palette recently. I think these socks look very well as a bouquet together. Yeah, and these were, I think, 100-gram skeins. Yeah, so I had a lot of this type of yarn, enough for another pair of socks, and this is these. So I haven't blocked these yet. And I very much like irregular striping. Irregular striping is the best type of striping. And here I, for the first time, or for the second time now, I did a normal Italian cast on or bind off. So what I did was I did a provisional cast on and then knit in this direction so that I have to bind off. I think that's easier than a cast on, also to manage it in a stretchy way. And they have very long 1x1 ribbing, if you can see it here, and then they're just plain stockinette stitch. And I think I made them a bit too short in the foot, so I'm thinking about doing some knitting surgery and inserting here a couple of more rows, because so much work went into them. So these really broke me. No, they didn't break me, they toughened me up in terms of what I can endure, because they are also knit on 2mm needles, teeny tiny stitches, and with this long ribbing. Yeah, so they took me a while, but I really like, yeah, these irregular stripes. Yeah, so by then I had knit a bunch of socks, but I really wanted to have some more. So and how I think it works is if I spread the wear over more pairs of socks, that increases the life of the individual pairs, obviously. So I knit another one because, yeah, I went to this local yarn store, and I'm always having an eye on those more rustic yarns that are like from a small company, and they had this lovely Garthenor Organic Snowdonia organic wool 100% fingering weight yarn in very rustic colors. So it was just 50 grams, actually 48, and I knew that would not be enough for one pair of socks, but this yarn is quite pricey, so I thought I'd see how far I get, and if I combine it with a contrasting toe and heel, it might work, and this is what I came up with. So I used the Mondim, and then this is the yarn, the Snowdonia yarn. They are quite short, but still in my shoes, the cuffs like pop out of the shoes. And I also wore them now. Here also the Mondim is already felting. Yeah, let's see how long they last. But I really like this color combination. I think it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And yeah, they look worn. I'm sorry, like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel a bit uncomfortable showing you worn socks, but at the same time, I think it's much more useful if I can also give you some sort of like short review. Yeah, what I can say about this yarn, which is a bit more like scratchy and a bit more lofty than the Mondim, although it's knit on the same needle, 2 millimeters, and it's also fingering, these are much warmer. So these create a much warmer fabric than the purely Mondim socks. Yeah, so I really like to hold them all together, and so this is something I can work with and try out and do my like sock experiments. Yeah, so these are all my socks. I know this is not like super exciting in terms of like structure knit or color work, but I just like basic socks. So I don't like the feeling of structure so much on my feet, although I understand that maybe structure knit might also add warmth to it because it creates air pockets. But I like basic socks, and I very much like socks that have contrasting toes and heels. So yeah, and as Summer Lee says, if you want to get into sock knitting, you should knit many basic socks. So that for me comes in handy because I like basic socks. I don't need much more. I know that doesn't seem very challenging to probably many of you, but yeah, I'm fine with basic socks if they have interesting colors. I think colors, that's my thing. Nice colors, color combinations, that's something that gets me excited. Here we go. This is... Oh yes, and when I thought about making this video, obviously I wanted to show you socks that look nice, and sock blocking makes socks look nice. But I didn't know whether I really needed sock blockers, so I DIY'd them. Here's the video. Because when you buy sock blockers, like obviously you can get them in different lengths, but the width is pretty standard, and I have rather slim feet, so I didn't want to stretch out the negative ease that I actually wanted, because the beauty of sock knitting is that you can tailor them, knit them to your feet, and so that's why they look so nice. But otherwise, I'm not so sure if that is really necessary. I think the moisture in my shoes blocks them just fine. Yeah, but if you want to admire your socks and have them once look so lovely and even, sock blocking is obviously an option. Yeah, what else have I been knitting in the last weeks? I made a scrap yarn scrunchie. I taught some friends a bit of knitting, and for this training session I used some scraps and I made this scrunchie. This gives me spring vibes. I've also been wearing this a lot. And in terms of works in progress, I'm still working on my second sweater number 23. So this is my first sweater number 23. And I really like the fit of it, and I wanted to have one in greens. And I finished the body. I bound off the body, but I think that the neck is too narrow. I think I have to undo it again. Yeah, but this is knitting, isn't it? Yes, thank you very much for listening and tuning in. I hope this was inspirational if you are into sock knitting and if you had your eyes on one of the yarns I was using. And yeah, I hope this helped. Yes, and if you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and maybe see you next time. Bye!